Traffic. Endless, infuriating traffic. That was the first thing Commander Zorvok saw when his invasion fleet descended over the capital city. Steel boxes jammed every stretch of road, their primitive combustion engines coughing out smoke in a way that offended Zorvok's refined alien nose. He had expected screaming civilians running in terror, not hundreds of them sitting in place, sipping coffee, and tapping on glowing rectangles. He slammed a claw against the comm panel. "Initiate ground assault," he barked. This was supposed to be over in 30 minutes. 40 if the humans put up an unexpectedly heroic fight. The troop transports dropped neatly between rows of motionless cars, their landing gear pressing into painted asphalt. The aliens poured out, rifles raised, only to find themselves surrounded by honking, irritated drivers. One man in a bright yellow vest leaned out of his van window and shouted, "Nice costumes, Star Wars conventions down the street." Another rolled his eyes and muttered, "Just my luck. Space cosplay during rush hour." Private Drill stepped toward a massive, red metal beast, scanning it with his weapon. "Commander, these primitive war chariots are dormant," he reported. The war chariot in question suddenly lurched forward 2 feet as the traffic crept ahead. Drill shrieked and jumped back. The human driver, chewing a bagel, glared and yelled, "Move your weird lizard suit, buddy." Then, without ceremony, he tossed the half-eaten bagel out the window, smacking Drill right in the chest. Zorvok gasped. "An edible projectile. They've weaponized carbohydrates." He ordered the squad to return fire, but the translator garbled his command into something like, "Commence synchronized disco," resulting in 12 heavily armed soldiers awkwardly stepping in place to confuse stares. A deep rumble shook the air as the fleet's hovering gunships descended lower, blocking sunlight. Zorvok activated his universal surrender broadcast. "Attention humans. This planet now belongs to the Zorthax Dominion. Surrender your resources and kneel before you're new." But the nearest commuter simply turned up their car radio, drowning him out with a pop song. Another driver called into a talk show to complain, "Yeah, there's this new alien station on 98.3, but the static is awful. You guys should fix it." In an attempt to be diplomatic, Zorvok approached a 4-wheeled yellow vehicle marked with the word taxi. The driver, without missing a beat, leaned out and asked, "You need a ride?" "Surge pricing though, big guy. It's rush hour." "Surge pricing," Zorvok muttered. A primitive economic tactic designed to dissuade invasion forces from rapid travel. His tactical officer whispered, "It could be a form of tribute." Before they could pay, the taxi sped off, nearly clipping an alien soldier, who immediately declared this a hostile act. Hovercraft pilots reported back with alarming news. Their advanced anti-gravity engines couldn't maneuver under the city's countless overpasses without scraping the tops. A few attempted evasive maneuvers, only to get tangled in webs of black cables strung from pole to pole. "The human power network is attacking us," one panicked pilot shouted over comms. "They have invisible nets." Meanwhile, the ground troops found that moving between lanes of vehicles was nearly impossible. When they tried to walk along the edges, humans in bright uniforms waved glowing sticks at them, shouting, "Stay off the shoulder." One soldier attempted to intimidate one of these humans, only for the man to slap a bright orange slip of paper onto the alien's armor. "Commander," the soldier said in a trembling voice, "I think I've been fined." Zorvok took the paper and tried to decipher the human symbols. "Parking violation. What kind of weapon is this?" His adjutant whispered, "It's a legal curse. I think we have to pay them to lift it." Still determined to stick to the plan, Zorvok commanded the fleet to advance toward the city's central command structures, only to be told their path was blocked by something called a double-park delivery truck. They attempted to move it with tractor beams, but the truck's alarm system triggered an ear-splitting wail. The troops clamped their hands over their ear holes, staggering as a human emerged from a nearby shop holding a cup of steaming liquid. "Move my truck and I'll throw this coffee at you," he threatened. Every soldier backed up immediately. The archives held stories of Earth's coffee, an acidic, jet-black brew capable of keeping humans awake for days. The Zorthax believed it to be some kind of battle elixir. Then came the final blow to their timetable. Zorvok's flagship received a desperate transmission from an armored platoon commander. "We have reached an intersection. but it is controlled by a flashing red light. No human advances. No human retreats. Everyone just sits. Is it some kind of standoff? Zorvok asked. No, Commander, the officer said grimly. It's simply etiquette. The commander tried to take matters into his own claws, marching forward between the vehicles to assert dominance. A man in a small silver car leaned out and yelled, "Buddy, you're blocking traffic. Move it, or I'm calling the cops." The threat was unclear, but the urgency was unmistakable. The commander retreated. By the 2-hour mark, Operation Swift Domination had stalled entirely. Reports poured in of stalled hovercraft due to billboard interference, which turned out to be nothing more than a shadow of a giant advertisement for laundry detergent. A squad trying to flank the city accidentally wandered into a car wash, mistaking the brushes for some kind of defensive barrier. They emerged soaked, disoriented, and smelling faintly of lemon. Zorvok stared at the chaos on his tactical display. The humans were not fleeing. They were not panicking. They were simply irritated. And yet, every attempt to move forward was thwarted, not by military resistance, but by an endless snarl of honking, bumper-to-bumper vehicles. He had conquered planets of molten seas and acid rain. He had subdued civilizations with fleets that blotted out the sun. But here on Earth, he couldn't even cross 2 miles of asphalt without being handed a parking ticket and a half-eaten bagel. Somewhere below, a street vendor shouted, "Hot dogs! Get your hot dogs!" And 3 alien soldiers immediately broke ranks to investigate. Zorvok sank into his command chair. This is going to take longer than expected. Zorvok had expected the human counterattack to be fierce, but not in the form of a man in a neon vest pointing in 3 different directions at once. The aliens had decided to abandon their crippled hovercraft and proceed on foot. It was supposed to be faster, but within 10 minutes, half the troops were missing. One squad was wandering in circles thanks to street signs that contradicted each other. No left turn was directly beneath a left lane must turn left sign, and next to both was a road closed sign. Sergeant Frill shouted, "Commander, we are caught in a paradoxical traffic ritual." Zorvok was inclined to believe him. Another unit stood obediently at a crosswalk, waiting for the glowing human signal to change. It didn't. The walk sign remained stubbornly dark. Finally, a passing pedestrian told them, "You gotta press the button, buddy," and pointed at a small metal box. The aliens stared at it like it was an ancient relic. Drill pressed it, and nothing happened. He pressed it again. Still nothing. 3 minutes later, the entire squad was still jabbing the button in growing desperation while humans strolled past them. Hunger began to set in, which made things worse. An alien recon group approached what looked like a fortified supply outpost, a shiny metal car guarded by a single human in an apron. They demanded rations. The man nodded, handed them hot dogs, and told them it was on the house. The aliens bit in. Zorvok later received an emergency call. "Commander, our gloves, they are dissolving." Apparently, the grease had eaten through the polymer weave. 2 soldiers ran off to clean their claws in a fountain, slipping on the wet stone and taking out 3 more in a spectacular tangle. Meanwhile, one private had purchased a funnel cake and declared it the single greatest reason to spare this planet. That soldier was never seen again. The aliens' weapons were faring no better. The city's exhaust fumes were clogging the plasma vents, overheating the rifles until they were hotter than their user's temper. One particularly unlucky trooper set his rifle down to cool it and watched as a nearby construction worker picked it up. "Nice nail gun," the man said before firing 3 bolts into a plank of wood with inhuman precision. He handed it back with a nod. "Appreciate the loaner, space lizard." The trooper simply stared in silent awe. The next strategic move was supposed to be the establishment of a forward base. Recon identified a large, open lot perfect for the task. The troops landed there only to find it filled with strange wheeled baskets and marked with white lines. Within minutes, small motorized carts swarmed in, piloted by humans aggressively collecting the baskets. "Hey, you can't set up here. Customers only," barked a man with a walkie-talkie and a mustache. The aliens mistook him for a local warlord and backed away without firing a shot. When the dust settled, well, smog, the Zorthaks found themselves no closer to the city center. By now, Zorvok's personal frustration was boiling over. Report status, he demanded. Multiple hovercraft immobilized at barriers labeled toll. We are unable to proceed, an officer replied. Destroy the barriers. Zorvok ordered. We can't. The barriers won't lift unless we deposit 1.25 of their currency. Zorvok blinked. Currency? What currency? It appears to be metal discs with human leaders' faces stamped on them. We do not possess any. The commander put his head in his claws. This was supposed to be easy. Instead, his invasion was being held hostage by primitive transportation rituals and metal tokens. Somewhere on a side street, a group of alien warriors was stuck behind a garbage truck, waiting patiently as humans tossed bag after bag of refuse into its maw. Zorvok could only watch in disbelief as the humans' daily grind became the deadliest defense Earth could have possibly mustered. By 10 a.m., the proud Zorthak's dominion had suffered its first strategic defeat against the stoplights. If Zorvok thought the worst was over, the next hour proved him catastrophically wrong. The humans weren't fighting back with weapons. They were fighting back with themselves. It started with a teenager on a skateboard. He weaved between alien soldiers, effortlessly dodging their attempts to grab him. In the process, he popped in front of an alien surveillance drone and made a goofy face while throwing up a peace sign. The image was instantly broadcast to the entire fleet. Zorvok demanded the photo be deleted, but within minutes, it was circulating on human social media with the caption, "Skate or invade." The likes were climbing into the thousands. 2 streets over, tourists with cameras pointed at the hovering mothership. What's the ticket price? One asked. Do they take credit cards? Another chimed in. When the aliens insisted it wasn't a ride, the tourists just nodded knowingly. Clearly a secret upcharge situation. Then came the grandmother. She waddled right up to Zorvok himself, pressed a paper slip into his claw, and said warmly, 2 for 1 muffin special at Fred's Bakery, dear. Best deal in town. She patted his arm and shuffled away before he could respond. Zorvok turned the slip over in confusion. Is this the threat? The situation worsened when the aliens tried to seize a large, wheeled vehicle marked with strange human symbols. City bus. The driver folded his arms and said, exact change only. The translator conveyed this as, offer tribute precisely or be denied the journey. The aliens didn't have coins. When they tried to barter with alien tech, the driver shook his head and muttered, not my problem, before pulling over. Moments later, the bus coughed, sputtered, and broke down entirely, trapping the alien squad inside with 3 crying toddlers and a man eating something that smelled like it died twice before being cooked. On the other side of the city, a group of cyclists swarmed a squad of alien warriors. Hey, sweet bike mods, one shouted, pointing at the plasma rifles. Before the Zorthaks could react, the cyclists had dismantled the rifles, attaching the power cores and barrels to their bicycles. These'll shave a full minute off my commute, one cyclist bragged before speeding away. The aliens were left holding empty rifle frames and zero dignity. As if that wasn't enough, human bureaucracy made its move. City officials arrived at the alien landing zones with clipboards. You guys got a permit for a gathering of more than 50 people? The lead inspector asked. Gonna need to see that before you can stay here. Zorvok explained they were here to conquer the city, not host a party, but the man just shrugged. Doesn't matter. Permit office is 2 blocks over. You'll have to wait in line. The alien spent 45 minutes standing behind a man arguing about his fishing license renewal. Finally, an opportunity for tactical movement arose, until they hit a detour sign. Trusting the human signage, the aliens followed the route, straight into a street fair. Before Zorvok could pull them back, a well-meaning local shoved a chili sample into his hands. The first bite made his vision blur. The second bite nearly knocked him unconscious. Around him, soldiers were rolling on the ground, claws clutching their stomachs. The fair's announcer spotted them and yelled into a microphone. Looks like we've got our guest judges for the chili cook-off. The crowd cheered. The aliens, sweating profusely and begging for water, were stuck tasting every spicy entry under the watchful eyes of enthusiastic humans. By the time they staggered back to the main invasion route, Zorvok had come to a grim conclusion. Humanity didn't need to fight them. Humanity would simply live near them until they broke. By mid-afternoon, Zorvok's patience was running on fumes. Much like his anti-gravity tanks, which had begun blinking ominous warning lights. High Command barked through the comms. "One final push, Commander. Take the city before nightfall." Zorvok saluted sharply, rallied his troops, and ordered a full advance. It lasted exactly 6 minutes. Their navigational systems, interfaced with human GPS, suddenly rerouted them due to an accident on Main Street. The entire invasion fleet took a sharp left and found themselves in a standstill behind a garbage truck. The human driver, completely unfazed by the alien horde, hopped out, lit a cigarette, and began chatting with a coworker about last night's baseball game. The tanks sputtered, groaned, and died. Out of options, the aliens dragged themselves to the nearest fuel depot, a shabby gas station with a flickering sign reading Earl service. Zorvok marched in, slammed a claw on the counter, and demanded fuel. Earl, wearing an oil-stained cap, didn't even look up from his crossword. "Pumps outside. Prepay first." The aliens stared at the pump like it was an ancient puzzle. One soldier attempted to insert a plasma credit chip into the slot. It jammed instantly. Earl sighed, shuffled over, and explained the process with the tone of a man speaking to particularly dense houseplants. Then he added, "And no, we don't take alien rewards points." As they fumbled, a news crew pulled up, cameras rolling. "Breaking. Are the invaders just bad drivers?" the anchor asked brightly. Behind him, an alien tripped over a hose and fell headfirst into a windshield cleaning bucket. Social media erupted. The hashtag traffic war was trending worldwide. Memes of aliens holding exact change